Good morning, everyone. Microphone check. Screen check. Looks like everything's working correctly here. Good, good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully everyone is able to rest up, get ready for the day ahead, all that fun stuff. Finally Friday, right? End of the week. Wrapping up the week. Before jumping in, as always, on the left side of the screen there, make sure to read through the Live Trader Morning Prep PDF. Very important to go through and understand everything that is inside there. Just a quick note for you all before we jump in. Please keep in mind that the YouTube broadcast does have between a 5 and 30-second delay, depending on where you're logging in from, which can definitely impact the timeliness of what I may be talking about. Just as a side note as well, along with that, I have been noticing some latency issues today. So if there's some lag or delay or something like that, I've been noticing it on my end as well, so it might not be on your side if you notice something weird. So just as a heads up, I've been seeing it. I haven't had a chance to restart everything yet, but hopefully it goes away. I guess that's the hope. So anyway, I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our latest members that joined overnight and yesterday. Thank you so much for the support. I'm happy and pumped to have you on board the SSFTG fam. If you aren't a member yet, you have a few different options to check out if you're looking to further your trading education and career. Here on YouTube, you can check out the join button below the stream. YouTube fam gain access to the extended hours trading room, which continues the morning session from 10 to 11. Every member gains permanent access to the Discord chat server, and of course, you get the awesome badge next to your name on YouTube here to show your support, and it just looks cool. To understand our day trading approach and what I'm doing in the room, look no further than the Day Trading Academy. That would be the secondary option. Well, I guess that'd be the first option if you really want to know what's going on, but that would be one of the other options available. Listen, the big thing here is that this isn't a lightweight PDF guide that you're going to finish in an afternoon. This isn't something that's just a quick, breezy read over the weekend. You come back on Monday making millions. That's not how it works, right? This is, I mean, it's a full study course guide with 19 plus hours of material, not including the homework and the review and the study guides and everything else that you can go along with, including hundreds of hours of YouTube material on top of that. So it's definitely something that you're going to need to tuck in and kind of get ready for if you're ready to sit down and push in that direction. And then finally, the big one, the Mac Daddy, the VIP. VIPs gain permanent access to our non-delayed stream covering the entire morning session from 9 to 11, and that way you can ensure the fastest connection possible so you don't miss a beat. You don't have to be shifting around anywhere. Alongside that, VIPs also have access to our monthly VIP webinars. There's actually one coming up next week about scalping. That'll be a fun one. Private VIP events, one-on-one scheduling access, all kinds of cool stuff. So whether you're here for the very first time or you're a seasoned VIP veteran over on the Zoom stream, welcome. Glad to have you trading alongside me today to finish off the week in these crazy markets. See what's all going on for today. Let's take a look at some news, take a look at some charts, see what's going on this morning. Don't forget to grab your morning DP levels. Those are posted for you this morning on the major 7 markets that we take a look at. That way you've got all of the major turning points and areas of interest. Let's swap over here. As far as the news calendar, looking at the news calendar earlier this morning at 8:30, we had the retail sales for April. Came out worse than expected, flat at 0. Forecast was a positive 1%. We also had the core retail sales for April, worse than expected there, almost 100% wrong actually, negative 0.8. The forecast was at a positive 0.7. Total miss. Aside from that, I mean, it's Friday. We have our normal CFTC speculative net position, Michigan numbers, U.S. Baker Hughes, all the normal stuff. But there's nothing else really going on today that should really make the markets go crazy by any means. So as far as the market is concerned from the news perspective, really don't have anything else to worry about other than, hey, it's Friday. A lot of traders are probably going to want to duck out, especially if the weather's nicer by you. Starting off on the NASDAQ and taking a look at what's going on here. Continuing the drive to the downside, but yesterday's low into that higher low, we are breaking further above from there. And now we have a higher high and a higher low, and a continuation. Now, that said, this is by no means a break of a previous major swing. That would still be up here in the 1355 or 65, 70s. That hasn't happened yet, but we do have some of these minor swings that have broken and are demonstrating continuation. If we look at the move overall from the top to the bottom, which actually goes back a little ways more. Right. Oops, that's not what I wanted. We'll go from the top to the bottom, and we'll see what kind of volume we are demonstrating here. And, oh, man. The POC is still way up at the top. They haven't changed anything yet. Let's drag it all the way to the end. Has that been enough time to switch a POC? I can't believe that's still way up at the top. It is. That's incredible. All right, well, as far as the overall movement goes, I mean, this paints a very clear picture. We have profit taking still. There has been no shift from the bulls as of yet. That doesn't mean that this can't be the bottom. Definitely not. This could be the bottom. We have some nice divergent lows on the shorter and faster. There's a lot of things saying that it could be, but it's got to break some of these major swings. We've got to see volume demonstrating or see this thing just go screaming higher as a proof. But as it stands right now, the bears still own it, and we are still seeing that demonstrated on the volume. There's no real reason for us to be doing anything but staying on the sell side or potentially a little more neutral as we go into zones of resistance. Very obvious one that stands out there is this ginormous VVP. Man, that thing just jumps out and slaps you in the face, huh? There's nothing there. Wow. So that definitely needs to get filled in. If we look backward, that's just underneath the 13,400. It's right back at that swing high. Lots of action has to take place there. As it stands, well, bears still own it, but in the short term, the bulls do have the trend shift to the upside. Over on the S&P, same thing. I mean, the big thing that the S&P has in its advantage is that it has been, so far this year at least, the stronger of the two by a lot. As far as the strength, the S&P has just looked way better than the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's year was last year. This year seems to be so far for the S&P, and it just keeps screaming higher. And here again, we do have some very obvious diverging lows, but they're a lot more aggressive. The NASDAQ took its time. This one is just bam, bam, done. It just goes screaming out of there. So we haven't, again, had a break above any major swing highs or anything like that. But we do have a very strong leg to the upside, and so far, we can see there's a bit of a problem going on here. Buyers need to keep this going. This could very easily be a pullback before a continuation leg back to the upside. But with this kind of wedge going on, this could also very easily be a pretty nasty failure, and all of a sudden we see this thing rolling all the way back down to the 4,000s. Something to keep an eye on as we're kind of floating up here. And noting that the NASDAQ is running into a few other areas of potential problem that could drag on the S&P a little bit and kind of suck it down, even if it doesn't want to. Over on gold, man, still a big old range. As it stands, I mean, they just a massive failure at the highs. 1845 could not get through, but when they broke through the lows, tried again, and then it failed all the way back up. Same thing that we've been seeing on the indexes, really chopped up here and kind of sideways, but this could be a great excuse for a slide back to grab a bunch more support down in those 1817s or so. If we go across the highs, the high was technically plotted there, so if we go all the way across and we see where is the majority of the volume being traded, well, that gives us our answer as to why we are running into such a problem here. That made that pretty obvious, huh? We are just smack on top of that POC. And if buyers were buying this before and they were accumulating into this area, they got flushed under, rallied back up, chance to get out at break even plus, rolled underneath again, chance to get out at break even plus a lot, rolled way underneath. Now they're being given another chance. If we look at this from the standpoint of what side did it spend the most time on, I think it's safe to say the bears have won so far. This seems like a pretty dangerous spot. I don't really know that I want to be messing around with 1835, 1836. Be much better off seeing it pull back a little bit further. If we extend this volume a little bit further into today, just to see what they've been able to accomplish. POC hasn't really shifted much. How about if we go back to this previous higher low? Yeah, same thing. No change. Gold needs more info. On crude oil, this thing's a mess. Just a big old range. So far, man, they had that funky gap up and then rolled all the way back down. Couple nice legs to the downside. Looked like it was going to roll back up, but then pierced the new low. Then went all the way back up, but missed the new high. And then rolled all the way back down and broke lower again. If these are bulls, the bulls are obviously running into trouble here. They're not making new highs, and they're breaking down through the lows more times than I think they would like to. If we're looking at this from the pullback perspective, from the top to the bottom, and we kind of drag that across the whole thing, we can see that the POC is generally speaking around 64.92, and the market is spending a good chunk of time underneath it so far. Before the bulls are going to be able to take this back, they need to break back above this and carry on, and that's going to require a break above likely 65 to get that job done. If that happens today, I don't know, maybe. We're close. It's not going to take that much work to get it done. And then maybe we can go off to the races back to the upside. But for right now, we've got to be on more of the bear side, even though I don't necessarily want to. I would rather let the sellers try to come in and fail and then take their trap. That seems a bit more fitting. Over on the euro, big drive to the downside and then huge consolidation around that too. I mean, almost guaranteed we have a POC down there, right? I mean, that's got to be. Yeah. All right, so the POC is basically right on top of that side. It's just smack down there. Huge amounts of support resistance down at the bottom. The market is migrating its way back up a little bit. Nice accumulation phasing to the downside. Very obvious with a POC at the bottom. The buyers are winning right now. They bought the pullback. They accumulated into the dip. And now they're able to take profit on the way higher. If we continue this over a little bit further to maybe that higher low. Yeah, the POC didn't change. So it still gives the same piece of information. Market's looking to work its way back up. If we look at the previous volume, likely this would be a short-term zone of resistance. Seems like that was where buyers were accumulating down to at the first point, which failed. But if they're looking to get out at break even or take some off, that's a perfect spot for it. So maybe not wanting to be a buyer right this second, but. And Bitcoin, we've got that big flush. We've got another continuation down that failed. Now we're rolling back up, but that failed too. We're kind of stuck in a wedge. We have an intermediary short-term new high, but in the bigger picture, we're very far away from any new structural move of anything, really. It's just kind of hanging out. Got to wait and see what they want to do. I mean, honestly, perfect scenario, perfect world, another trap underneath these lows at 47,000, and then see this thing just go screaming parabolic back up to 60. You can almost see it happening. I just have a really hard time wanting to be a buyer here when I know that just yesterday it was $3,000 cheaper, you know? And over on Ethereum, same thing. I mean, we've been talking about Ethereum wanting to be TFD for ages. They finally had the first attempt here. We finally had the second attempt here. They have not been given a third attempt. Maybe a little inside third attempt, sure. But that's it. I mean, this thing's just off to the races. Any pullback is likely going to find buyers. Here again, I mean, I would still like a pullback, but we've got to be kind of cognizant of what's going on. Ethereum is extremely more bullish than Bitcoin. Having an inside pullback to retest that zone of support down in the 3,800s or so, that would be perfect. Doesn't necessarily have to make that lower low like we're talking about on Bitcoin. All right. Switch gears over to the NASDAQ. Take a look at the daily and work our way down. This volume still hasn't finished building. Fantastic. That's why we use the horizontal lines. We know the zones of support are down here. We missed both of them. Really strong bullish move to the upside. And what did we have? First leg down. Second leg down that went about 1.5. I think it, what did we see yesterday? I missed it by just a little bit and then rolled back up. If we do see signs of bearishness right back around that previous area, you know, it's 450s-ish, then that could be easily setting up for the A leg to be equaling not B. AB equals CD, not this time. AB equals CD equals EF, right? We're looking for it to come down here and equalize. Now, if we want to do a little bit of foresight, what would be perfect if we utilize this channel, and I'm going to have to delete that and just do a new version. There's measured leg number 1, measured leg number 2 that overshot. And if we want this to land perfectly, that would give a measured leg back up to around 13,487.50. Realistically speaking, it's probably closer to 455. That number has haunted us before, but that would be optimal. something around that area. So bullishness until we get to that point, and then that could shift pretty quickly. On the 60-minute chart, I'm going to zoom out a little bit here and recalibrate this gigantic thing. So in the shorter term, we do have the bear leg, which is looking for a continued L1. If we look at this overall trend to the downside, I mean, it's yesterday, or not yesterday, but a few days back on the 11th to 12th, that was an L1 hold, which broke back down to the downside. This time around, though, the L1 is having some difficulty, and that usually means that they're going to be hunting for a little bit of further higher price action, however that sentence is supposed to go, and that gives us L2. Now, it's not just L2 in this scenario. Notice that we also have several opens, closes, etc., all stacking in the same spot. There's a lot of interest here already being dominated by what we've seen on the market. If we look backward on that area, because obviously that was a corrective phase, remember where that POC was. Right inside here. Now we have a POC cluster. So you have an L2. We have an opens and closes very strong area of zone of support. We also have a volume cluster, which is stacking in the exact same spot. Let's see how many other things that we can stack up in the same area here. As far as a wedge, that's about as plain as day going to the downside. That would be a... it just looks kind of gross, doesn't it? I don't like that one as much. It almost feels like it's incomplete. It's almost waiting. I'm kind of curious. Does that fit as a channel? We're through it a little bit. All right, well, either way, we have a few things that are stacking up in this area at 315, 316. We might need a little more time to derive more zones of support resistance in that area. But generally speaking, if we go back, notably that I believe was also that POC of the up move, right? From bottom to top. Didn't they put a POC in here? Oh, yeah, perfect. What? What? That's not right. Cool. I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me correctly, they had a POC that was parked like just above the high, at least up until like one of these highs. It might have been up to here. I don't remember exactly where it was, and Ninja's not exactly helping, but that does add another area of interest. I don't know what the heck that's about. Anyway, as we go into the 15-minute chart and we look a little bit closer and see what's going on. From this perspective, obviously, we are beginning to see those trend reversal scenarios with the higher highs, higher lows trying to work its way up. Not the best looking thing in the world, but it's definitely trying. If we look at the most recent leg to the downside, it was obviously a pullback, and we know that for sure because it made a new high. So realistically, if the buyers are going to buy and defend, we're going to be looking back towards like 114s. And, well, we've got the settlement at around 13,076.50. A lot of things trying to say that this might want to pull down a little bit further, grab some of these other areas of interest. We haven't really had a pullback today at all. It's just kind of gone up. On the 500 tick, the Asian session is below the Euro session, which generally speaking dictates a bullish day. Especially when the market is responding bullishly to the top of the Euro session and spending the predominant amount of time above. The one thing that this is sorely missing right now in the short term is a break above the swing high. That's what it needs to kind of spark the fire. It's there, it's ready, it's got everything it needs. It just needs that last little pop. Doesn't feel like it's had it yet. From the perspective of swings, we've got the low, which set in for the rally higher. I mean, like I said, it didn't really ever stop going up. We've got an L2, which continued up into an L1, another pullback into an L2. So we have an L1, L2, L1 kind of transition back and forth. They're kind of jumping back. This last one, more notably, was an excuse me, was an L2. So generally speaking, the buyers are going to want to see an L1 hold. They technically didn't get back down to the L2. Close. But now we're back above. We're holding support. We're holding support. You can definitely see what buyers are trying to do right now. They are trying very hard to get this to go back to the highs. If they fail and we end up with a lower high, we're almost positively going down to the L2. Very strong bullish response. Narrowing in even further. From the top to the bottom. That POC's still up there, isn't it? What about with this new low? The POC's still up there. Okay. Well, we've got some issues here. We've got about 8 minutes until the open. That's right around the corner. As far as areas of potential swing interest is tough to do on a Friday, just because, I don't know about you, holding a futures contract, or these days even stocks, or anything that you can't control over a weekend, and you're allowing fate to dictate where it's going to open up and gap, it typically doesn't gap in my favor. I don't know, maybe you have better luck than I do, but it almost never does in mine. So I'm not a big fan of holding over the weekend. So from a swing perspective, it's very much intraday swing, looking for it to reject off of and get there within the next, like, hour or two, when I'm going to be talking about more on the swing side today. That's very typical for Fridays in general. Now, with crypto, that's a different story. Crypto you have access to, right? If I need to update something at 3 in the morning on Sunday, I can. Trading view over here. I know I'm going to have to use it anyway. All right. Open right around the corner. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to run and grab a drink, and then we'll be able to rock and roll. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Let's see. So far, not really a whole lot going on, huh? I want to double check my level since we have a second here. Yeah, okay. Buyers are having a real hard time here as we go into the open. Next big time slot is going to be at 9:28. 9:28 is usually the next big mover. That's the drop-off period for being able to change your at the open orders. So there's usually a big bump in volume then. far as the... I mean, the S&P, the NASDAQ, they're all just kind of chopping right now. I mean, from a scalper's perspective, it seems like there's a lot of bullish support around 31.25, and there's a lot of bearish resistance around 46.25. So they're just kind of pinging off the range highs and lows at the moment. Not necessarily going one way or the other. Seems not so good for the bulls, though. I don't know. If I were a buyer in here and I'm sitting in this thing and it's just... All right, makes an attempt up, fails back down. Makes an attempt up, fails back down. Goes up, new high, and then fails all the way back down to a two-legged drive lower. Corrects back up, and now they can't even break above the previous highs? Jeez. They're not making it easy to be a buyer, that's for sure. What did yesterday's pullback end up being? Was that a 4? Yep. Wow. Usually after a 4, it's an L1. And that L1, on the deeper perspective, is right there down the shorter term L2. So you can definitely see why there's bullish pressure because they hit the bigger one. But why they might be having a little bit of a hard time finishing the job because they didn't get everyone. I got to dip a little further. What kind of wedge is this? Like, what a mess. One minute until the open. As far as the overall pullback from top to bottom on the impulse, they're struggling over their break-evens at 245. Those are the earlier buyers who likely bought in, or sellers who sold down. Either way, they tried getting something going there, and it's failing. So when they tried breaking back above it at 45 just a second ago, that didn't fly either. They've got to get above that if they're going to carry this through the top. Otherwise, there's too much stuff in the way. See if they can get that little dip at the open here. 20 seconds. A dip down to like the 81s. I mean, I know it's even further down there, but that could also be very interesting. Let's see what the open brings. All right, nice jump to the upside. That hit 245 again? Not quite. Just dip down underneath those 20s. That's all they need. I'm sorry, not the 20s, the 200s. Jeez, look at this mess. A strong enough bull bar will get buyers in this to try to get the break. But remember, a lot of traders are watching the same spot, and they've been failing to get above 245. It could also be a perfect spot for a trap. It's almost always better to let the other traders do the work for you, break the level if they're going to break it, and then get the pullback. It's all that happens in this sideways... Blech. Big bull bar, buyers try to buy the breakout, ends up being a trap. Sellers try to sell thinking that the bulls got trapped, that ends up being a trap. Everybody's trapping everyone else. And all the smart trappers are just sitting on the side laughing at them. Don't put your finger there. Oh, there it goes. Nice bull snap and a continuation back up after a fairly decent trap underneath those 25.75s. Buying way up at the high at the moment would be a terrible decision. See if they can get a snap back down towards those lows. Nice little snap. I didn't get either one. I tried hitting the bid, tried hitting the ask. I tried to, jeez. Eventually, finally popped up and gave the scalp out, but tried to get two, didn't get the second one. Gross. Oh, this might shake a lot of bulls out. It's going to make them nervous. There's so much barbed wire here, though. Talk about sticking your hand in the hornet's nest. What's that glove that native tribe uses with the with all the bullet ants in it? That's what this is like. Big bear bar. Sellers will sell it. They got trapped. That's why I don't try to do breakouts. Typically, if they are going to break out, they'll probe it first like this and then rotate down. And even there, you're better off waiting for the secondary entry point. Very aggressive little trap on the lows. And bears will have very likely taken that shot on those lows. They are now finally breaking above that 45 pocket. Perfect. That's what they need. That doesn't mean I want to be a buyer way the heck up here. Jeez, that pullback happened fast. I was going to say I want to buy at 45, but it was just gone. Nice little snap down. Couldn't get it on the scalp out. Secondary pump to the upside. There's the follow through. Beautiful move. The secondary drop back underneath the 2550s, preferably the lower the better, but we have seen this 45 support break. We are breaking above new highs. This is the kind of stuff that they need to do to take this back up. A miss on the top is going to be pretty nasty, though. We don't even have the first 5 minutes in yet. Yep, statistics say don't chase breakouts. Oh, yeah. Seems like every time I try to get a breakout of any kind anyway, it always slaps me in the face. It's just, you kind of learn after getting hit so many times. You're like, oh, maybe I should just wait. Sometimes you still do it, though. We're humans, right? We gotta get a wake-up slap every once in a while. Nice little poke above those highs, but then quickly failed back down. The S&P's starting to look like a javelin on the top. What a wicked first 5-minute candle that is. Jeez. Where's the POC? 4139 is the first 5 node. On the NASDAQ, that is at 4175? Hang on, gotta double check. Yeah. What a train wreck in there. How about if we include that quick little trap low? It gives a POC in the exact same spot. I mean, the whole thing's the same. That's a lot of support coming in here on the NASDAQ. Still 200 ticks left on this candle, though. They're not filling this one in very quick. There they go. Big bull bar again. A ton of wick all over the place. Mid-weighted POC on the 15. Yep. I mean, you can see the normal formation that you get in a range for a continuation, right? They trap the lows and they get going to the upside. It's just each one of these candles is the distance of the range. A little awkward. That's why it's just a bunch of scalps on the inside. Very nice bull bar. On the 500 tick, a dip below the previous bull bar will get buyers involved. More on the scalper's perspective, and preferably a little bit lower towards 45. First snap underneath. There they go. Nice big drive to the downside. Beautiful rip. Volatility is extremely high right now. Yep. Be very careful. This could definitely start blowing off the lows, and if that's a risk that you're not comfortable with, you're probably just better off bailing. I like the deeper pullback, and I like it for a shot back to the upside in the shorter term, but in the longer term, things are definitely shifting. Nice popping back to the upside. I'm going to use that as an opportunity just to take the break even and call it. I don't like the way that that's moving. Yeah, look at that. Everybody's breaking even. They're like, no! Yikes. You could kind of feel it the whole way up. Like, the whole way it was moving its way up, it was like, nope, nope, nope. It's just really herky-jerky like that. Something's up. They might still go through it. That's fine, but they're going to do it without me. It's not worth the risk when they're acting like that. Well, thanks. I'd rather eat a teeny tiny loss. They want to go back up and maybe reconfirm? Sure. Like I said, I still like the bull side. It's just not doing it the way I want them to. S&P's trying to get that climb back to the upside. We're stuck on the first 5 POC. Really nasty here. Technically speaking, the bears are the ones that have spent the majority of the time underneath this POC. So, I mean, the sellers still technically kind of have it. And when it went right back up again, more break evens. Big old wick. If they can go back up again, that will renew a lot of interest. You're like, oh, okay, maybe they do have the strength to get this going. Now they're gaining some proof. Previous bull bar dip for a scalp back to the upside. I didn't get the target, and it immediately snapped down on me. I'm going to need to hit the E exits on this one, I think. Yep, I'm out. I tried hitting the scalp target at... no, actually ended up being right about break even. I tried hitting the target. You saw it for just a second. It said plus 18, and I hit sell ask. I didn't get a fill, and the thing just went bloof. Like, nope, time to get out. That's an emergency exit scenario. When it moves like that, when it almost hits your target and then dodges it, or you didn't have a chance to respond because it moved too fast, look at this is the follow-through. This is why I had to get out. There was zero hesitation. It's I need to get out, or I'm going to need to buy and get my average, or something. This needs to be updated. It happened very quickly, so, you know, you might have to watch it back a couple times, but pay attention to how it was moving inside there. Continuing back to the downside and breaking lower. We know buyers are SOL right now, and all we need is just a little bit of a push back up, and those buyers will start jumping ship. The only thing that the sellers don't have is any continuation. I mean, from the bigger picture, when you zoom out, we've had like no movement down at all. None. They started at the bottom and just went straight up. So on the bigger picture, this is still incredibly bullish. Okay. Well, in the bigger, small picture. Yeah, I mean, we're still on a 500 tick. Oh, no. Look at that 15-minute candle. Ooh, 2 minutes, 40 seconds left to see how they close that bad boy out. Yikes. Sellers have definitely taken over in the short term. We've seen that context shift. I am very much looking to scalp short on this way down, preferably to try to get underneath the 200s. I would just like a little bit better of a retrace. I know it's asking a lot on the NASDAQ. My cat is going ham in the other side, and I don't know what he is getting into. Sellers are putting in a lot of pressure here, holding it underneath these Euro session highs. Okay, they're breaking back above. Ooh. Sellers are trying to put on the pressure here. All the way down to the bare bottom. Holy crap. Sellers are going to be looking for a continuation drive to the downside for at least a scalp. Beautiful scalp. Whoops, I hit the button too many times. Oh, geez, I should have held on to that mistake a little longer. That would have been perfect. I hit buy too many times, accidentally bought one too many, sold out, and then it rifles higher. God, this market's nuts right now. Again, another day, scalper's paradise. Swing traders, there's a lot of sitting on hands and waiting. Nasty twin reversal back to the downside for sellers. And we already know that buyers lost their grip at the top. Might need to backfill into the 26s just a bit. The 240s are a retest of that previous POC again. S&P is back at the highs. That might suck the NASDAQ up. I don't know that I want to short it with the S&P popping the top like that. That's going to make it a bit awkward because the NASDAQ, if it's going to catch up, it's no a shy mover when it needs to cover some distance. Hey, hey, how's it going? On the S&P, if we can get a little inside dip back to like the 40 quarters, that wouldn't hurt my feelings. The NASDAQ on the 15 broke above that previous top, didn't break a new high, and then created a monstrous bear engulfing candle. If that bear engulfing candle triggers, that's going to be a huge problem. And we already know that buyers are jumping ship left and right at that high. They filled in the gap, put in more resistance off of that 35, adding a bit of proof. See if they can get a pop back up towards maybe like the 28s. Previous bear high, like just a little higher. I tried getting it, didn't get it. No fill. Missed the opportunity. Oh. Even shortcut keys aren't fast enough. Now I'm going to have to wait to see if they can get back closer to like the 27s, 28s. I missed the first opportunity. It looks like, I mean, it looked like it worked out almost immediately. Are you kidding? Wow, I didn't get filled on that either. Okay, I give. I'm sorry, Nas. I don't know what I did. I'm sorry. Okay. Sheesh. Make a ring of salt and start dancing in circles over here. What do I got to do? Evil spirits, leave me be. Nice bear bar to the downside will get sellers re-involved again. I tried selling that little poke to the upside. Wow. That's too much. That's too big. Little inside pop above the 25s, maybe? Ugh. They flipped the POC on those two. There we go. Nice little pop-up for sellers to pressure back down on. Beautiful slide back to the downside. Oh, fantastic. Gorgeous slide right back to Euro session highs. S&P, another day, and another lack of being invited to the ball game, I guess. A strong bear bar on the NASDAQ will definitely get the sellers involved for continuation. But there's so much wick, there's so much stacking going on here. This is nasty. Look at these candles. I mean, this is insane. Great morning so far. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Pretty setups on the 2000. Yep. Yeah, super straightforward, huh? Bear bar continuation will get sellers trying to go to the downside. Jeez. Nice little snap back up. Sellers looking for the push down. Beauty. Grabbed it. Nice. Give me a little bit of a further pop. I think they'd be able to get back up into the 20s. Nice weak bull bar. No? The S&P keeps going up, which is making me nervous to keep shorting this if it's not going to make new lows. I mean, they're up in the 20s, but we're seeing the problem, right? If I were short, it would need to go now or I would immediately get out. So, I mean, kind of keeping an eye on it from that perspective. It doesn't look like the sellers are winning yet. Maybe here. S&P dipping underneath the previous 5-minute bull bar. I'm not getting the pullback on the S&P at all. It's just bull bars on my 5-minute chart. That's it. There we go. All inclusive. Retap back up to that POC, but we've already seen some of the problems. Like, I don't necessarily want to be too aggressive on the sell side. We know the buyers are nervous, but the S&P keeps going up, and the NASDAQ's not making new lows. Man. Honestly, I still like that pullback on the S&P around 40 quarter. I'm just not sure it's ever going to get it. I'll leave it there. All right, so those fears, those concerns, the little nuances that we were picking up, well, good thing we were listening, huh? Broke above those areas. Now we're seeing proof of those fears. Sellers are now potentially stuck on a very bad spot. This is the NASDAQ's chance to try to catch back up to the S&P and start breaking the highs. All these higher lows all over the place, that's bad news bears for the sellers. Give me a quick little flush down into the sub 40s on the NASDAQ. Unless this bear bar gets a little too strong. An excessively strong bear bar on the top is not good. Okay, good. Come on, little dip closer to the 40s. Ooh, uh-oh. Sellers are starting to realize if they sold that last bear bar that they're wrong. All those wicks are their break-evens around the 48s. Let's see if it dips back down there again underneath 50. There they go. Beautiful pullback for the sellers to try to get this back out of their break-even point and buyers to pick it back up and shove the market towards the top. Catch back up to the S&P. First two off the original area. See if they can keep this going above the 50s. Challenging the break-even point, not really proving a whole lot. Very fast snap back down, though. I'm going to take the last one off at break-even and just accept that I didn't get the runner. Looks like that's what everybody else did, too. It's all good. Not going to get it every time. I tried. Now that I'm out, it'll go. See if they can plot another halfway decent one. But honestly, any pullback close to the 30s is going to be a zone of interest. My primary concern, of course, is that we now have another fairly obvious lower high with a nasty bear bar. The bulls got to take this back up. Good bull bar. Bulls getting continuation back to the upside for an attempt. .48's not necessarily working too well yet, although the sellers haven't even triggered this bear bar. Now, quick snap down into the 41.75s. Beautiful zone of interest to try to snap the market right back up again. Objectives are going to be above, I mean, preferably the 45s, but I'd like to see it get back up to like the 47s, 48s. I mean, the 50s are the big spot, really. Beauty. All right, come on. Let that be the last trap and rifle this thing through the top. There we go. Keep going. No, wrong way. Go back up. That was a fantastic trap at the end there. If that's the fuel they needed, I mean, it's perfect. Let's see if it's the fuel they needed to break the top. Whew. Come on, bulls. Get on up. We're in that wick. There we go. I'll drop it off there. That's fine. It'll probably go through the highs now, but I've only got the one left. Beautiful pop. They're taking too friggin' long. I'll take it at the top of that candle. Fine. When do the sellers give up? After I get out. Come on now, you know the answer to that question. Let's go. No, it's... The thing is, we haven't really deviated away from this area far enough for sellers to really realize, like, okay, we're obviously wrong, right? There hasn't really been that. I mean, this whole morning, it tried separating away, and then a little above, little below, little above, little below. We're just not getting away from it. So there hasn't been anything obvious enough. Now, especially if we're breaking above a new high, I mean, how much more proof do you need that a trend is continued? They just made another new high, you know? So buyers will be looking to buy into this pullback that just happened now that they realize, hey, that was actually a pullback after all of this dump truck of a mess ended up being just a big pullback. Obviously, it's a huge range inside that pullback. And that's a little bit of a concern because put yourself in the shoes, myself included, right? I mean, how many times have we been trying to buy this stupid thing to get going and go back up to the highs and go back up? I even gave up on it a little bit and started shorting until it went back up and started buying again. But I mean, how many times do I have to try? I give up after a little while, and a lot of other traders do the same thing. And that's kind of the concern. We're like, if they've given up enough, by the time it gets back up to the highs, they're just going to take the last little bit that they have off and ends up being the top instead of a trend continuation. So if this is going to continue, it would be good to make another little more decisive high. I mean, one close up and then closing back down again isn't necessarily it. John gets out so we can get in. Yeah, exactly. I'm a man of the people. What can I say? All right, going on 10 o'clock. That's the morning session. Feel free to get a couple last-minute questions in for the morning, and then we'll move over to the VIPs and members extended session and continue on the morning. See if we can get some more scalps going. Great overall movement so far. As far as the week, while I'm waiting for some of those questions to go and come in here, take a look at the numbers for the week. Again, dollar signs are irrelevant. I want to make sure that I am trading the plan appropriately, which means my numbers should come in at a positive or negative 1,000, and generally not less than that. So if we're looking at the ratios this week, I did have a lot of trades. I was doing a lot more scalping, to be fair. 70.59% accurate. Minus 100 means the losses are 29.41. If we take the losses, 29.41, average loss of 16 means 470.56. Then we take the 70.59 times the average wins of 20 minus 470.56, comes in at 941.24. Ta-da! We know that we traded the plan this week. So that's what it comes down to. I'm just making sure that my numbers are correct. For me, and your numbers are going to be different, right? Everybody's numbers will be different depending on how often you trade, and you might have to do more than a week at a time. Or, I mean, your numbers are definitely going to be different. But for me, if I'm trading my plan appropriately, my numbers should come in at around 900 or 1,000 in the positive or the negative. That's kind of the mentality there. If it's way out of whack, it better be to the upside, because if it's way out of the whack to the negative, something's got to change. Something went wrong, something happened. I know that I deviated away from my plan, and that there has to be a change. In this case, there wasn't. It worked out just like another normal week. So, how long do you keep trading for in the extended session? It depends on what's going on. If there's some good volatility, then it's usually for a good 30, 40 minutes. If there's not really a whole lot going on, we'll usually do questions for 30, 40 minutes. It usually lasts a good 30, 40 minutes. I typically don't cut it before at least a half hour. If I don't, let me get my words in the right place here. What it comes down to is if I don't think that I'm going to be able to have a sustained session for longer than like a half hour, then I'm just not going to open it. It's not worth the time at that point, you know, for you or me. Why, you know, if it was already that slow, chances are we already got all the questions done anyway. So today, I think there's going to be more than enough volatility to at least see a little bit more. So another day until probably 10:30. 10:40, something like that. And it's a time where we can usually just kind of kick back, spend a little bit more relaxed time, hang out with members, VIPs, ask questions, shoot the breeze, etc. So, anyway, that's going to do it. For you VIPs over on the Zoom side, you don't have to do anything. Just hang tight. You'll hear me go through the shift process like you always do. And for those of you on YouTube, the link for the extended hours session for members will be posted in the community session. That was yesterday. And we'll see you all there. For the rest of you, enjoy the weekend. Make sure to spend some time away from the markets, get some rest, and we will see you all back on Monday, all right? Enjoy, and we will talk to y'all later. Thanks.